Righty. Welcome back, everyone. And welcome Mayra, welcome Jackie, welcome Melissa, and guests. Welcome everyone to this segment on the Divine Feminine. And I'm going to turn it over to my three lovely ladies, my queen Melissa, and my long lost sisters, finally reunited after years after having been separated at birth, Jackie and Mayra. And ladies, please take it away. We are recording and we're streaming live on Twitch.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamin. Good morning, everyone. So happy you're here with us. Hi, Jackie and Mayra. So great to see you. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We have decided that we're going to invite a series of guests to come and join us who will open up different aspects of our overall conversation around the Divine Feminine principle and how to create a compassionate life on planet Earth. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie today because she will be introducing our first guest. We're so excited that you're here with us to share your wisdom and all the beauty that you have within. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jackie.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here again. I look forward to seeing everyone every week. It's beautiful. And I just, again, want to say hi and welcome everyone. Before I introduce Dr. Molina, I just wanted to say that in a conversation that we were talking about the Divine Feminine and our presence here in the 24-hour block party, I think we kind of agreed that the role of the Divine Feminine is to foster inner wisdom, nurture the soul, cultivate an environment for growth and exploration, and guide in the soul's evolution and form. And I think that this segment in this presence of the Divine Feminine is our opportunity to balance out the masculine efforts that are being made to co-create this world and within the power that we have within. And this is why we invited Dr. Molina here today to impart some wisdom, to invite a conversation about the inner ability that we have to co-create this world that we're trying to do. So Dr. Molina, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and please provide some of your background for us.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your group. It's an honor. You'll have to forgive my language. Remember, English is my second language. I'm a Spanish-speaking person, Hispanic. So I'll try to do my best. Thank you to Mayra and to Jackie for introducing me to you guys. And it's as I say, it's an honor. Well, as you say, you know, my name is Oscar Molina. I'm a medical doctor, graduated from University of El Salvador. Then I studied traditional Chinese medicine in San Francisco. Went to China to do clinical practice. And then I studied homeopathy in Colombia, which I graduated as a homeopath. Did studies on psychology, transpersonal psychology over here at the Universidad Matías Delgado. And I've been practicing in my clinic for 35 years, doing counseling, doing nutrition, herbalism, homeopathy, acupuncture, and of course, allopathic medicine. I've been host on a talk show for 30 years in San Salvador television. And I've been traveling for the last 2-3 years all over South America in Spanish-speaking countries. Lecturing is saying too much. Conversating with people, talking about wellness, healthcare, alternative culture, etc. Also, when I was 18 years old, long time ago, I started doing yoga practice. I found a person in my path, Jose Marcelli, which I considered for 40 years my master. He passed away. And I belong to this organization. It's called the Universal Great Brotherhood, which is an organization, a non-cultural organization, non-governmental, non-profit organization that has a purpose of joining, of meeting other groups, other people that have the same inclination as we do. Spirituality, alternative culture, humanity, friendship, brotherhood, etc. So I've been doing that, and besides doing my yoga practice as a yoga instructor, I started doing yoga when I was 18. Nobody at the time knew what yoga was. They thought it was something that you drink or you ate. They say, what is yoga? in my 70s, and I started doing that since I was 18. And now here I am with you guys, doing a little bit of coaching in health, coaching in wellness, and sharing, mostly sharing. Sharing not my wisdom, that's saying too much. Sharing my experience, sharing what I've learned, these years of being in this path. So that's a little saying something about me. I'm here for you guys, whatever you need to share with this thing of femininity. I was thinking last night, what am I going to talk about? But I got some hints. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And again, thanks a lot for having me with you guys. Thank you. Jackie.
Myra, did you want to say anything or introduce like your background with UGF-Net as well, and the Divine Feminine, and why we're inviting Dr. Molina with us on this journey?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely decided to bring Dr. Molina here as a guest because we find him very important to contribute in the North American side of the whole American continent. And the reason is because in reality, there's a lot of people within an organization that are like gems. They have a lot of knowledge. For instance, Dr. Molina, he has been to China to study homeopathic medicine. And us in the vegetarian or vegan kind of lifestyle, we always try to find a way of living our lives more in nature, more in plant-based. We always try to find alternative medicines to heal ourselves, because we know that if our bodies got sick by themselves, they can heal by themselves also if we give them the proper nutrients or the proper plants. So we are going to be making a project with Dr. Molina within the week, but here he is right now to introduce himself. I'm excited. I haven't met him personally, but I've known that he's been part of the organization for such a long time of years before I was born. So I love the fact that he has a lot of wisdom and that he can contribute in many ways with us, with the Divine Feminine, which a lot of people just, it's hard maybe for them to understand what is the Divine Feminine. And the Divine Feminine is within all human beings, men and women. It's just on the right side. That's why it's the right side, because that's the right side to think of. Not that I'm discriminating the male side, no. But once the male side gets connected to the divine side, you become more colorful. You see life more beautiful. And the reason is because the feminine side is automatically connected to the heart. And I believe that our heart is the main brain in our bodies. Our heart feels before even our emotions. So it's felt in our hearts, and then we put it on our emotions. But when we decide from here whether we want to stick it to this part of the brain, or if we want to bring it to the emotions on our stomach, which is not a very satisfying place either, because then we get the runs. But yeah, thank you, Dr. Molina, for being here. I'll give the microphone back to you, Jackie or Melissa.
I would love to invite Dr. Molina to really help us understand, like we were talking about when we were preparing for this project that we're starting next week with him, about the anxiety, about the fear, about the depression, about the unknown, and what that does physiologically to us as human beings, and to understand the benefits of engaging that divine feminine, engaging those ancient traditions about health and wellness. And if you could give us some kind of medical scientific understanding of the physiological effects of that anxiety and fear that we're experiencing, and how the benefits of using this divine feminine and this wisdom to cultivate that healing, and we can get through this and we can thrive at the other side of this.
Okay, well, first of all, call me Oscar. Dr. Molina, I feel kind of a old, big, all men like that. Oscar, I'm Oscar for you guys. I'm a friend, brother, whatever. And what is the main issue? You want to talk about the feminine, divine feminine, or do you want me to give another aspect of, fear, anger, how to manage it? I thought we were going to talk about the divine feminine. That's it, huh? Okay.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's start talking
Okay.
about the divine feminine and see where it goes.
Okay. Okay. And remember, this is a conversation. This is like dialogue. This is no lecture. I don't have the ability or the capacity of doing a lecture. Conversation. So you stop me anytime and you talk with me and we make a dialogue. Okay. Well, from a anatomical, physiological point of view, when we are conceived, depending the chromosomes we have that join the ovule and the sperm, we have double X or XY. Double X is a male, XY it's a female, potentially, because when the fecundated ovule starts to grow, there's no he or no she. It's an it, and it starts bringing. This is very interesting. The sexual part, the mainstream where the energy is, it starts making what it's called the notochord, and it starts spreading with cells and cells and cells and start dividing. And then at the other end, it makes the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system. So it's the same thing, only in a different vibration, in a different level. Sexuality and the way you think in embryology, it begins in the same thing. Okay. After months of being in the womb and the ovum growing, the fetus growing, it starts differentiating. And if XY is stronger, the chromosomes are there, then you become anatomically and physiologically a female. And if it's X, double X, you become a male, man or woman. Okay. But then there's what is called right now the phenotype, because that's your genome. Your genome is XX, and it starts having all the chromosomes and all the genes exposed there. If you have a background of diabetic or a background of cancer in your cells, it's going to be there, like a biological clock. But we have discovered lately, we're saying about 30 years ago or something like that, that the environment, what you eat, how you think, how your parents were, where you live, the music you hear, also make that genome to be activated or latent. So the phenotype is given by the environment. It also has to do with how you express in life. So you have the genetic cocktail plus the phenotype, which is the environment attributes, and it makes you what you are, a female or a male. There is a in between, which gives origin to homosexuality, either female or either masculine, male. Okay, but let's talk about heterosexuals to give the idea of dialectic process of polarization. The Chinese call it, and you know that, the yin and the yang. Yin is the female, and yang are the qualities of male. Okay, so in that polarity is what life moves basically. Okay, so until you're about 7 years old, because we sort of like renew ourselves every 7 years, it has to do with stuff, with astrological stuff, etc. But I'm not going to get into that because it's very esoteric. But every 7 years, our cells are renewed completely. Okay, so up to when you're born, zero years, when you're just born, you just breathe outside the womb, until 7 years, more or less, you are undifferentiated. You're not either male or female. You're it. That's why you see there's certain boys that like to play with girl stuff, and they have friends. And wait, hold on, my battery is going on. I have to put it on. Where is it? Hold on a second. My battery is turning on. Sorry about that. Remember, I'm old school. Technology is not my best. So, okay. So where were we? Okay. So until 7 years old, more or less, on your development, on your psychological development, you're not either a girl nor a boy. Although energy starts flowing to one of either sides, either a yang or a yin, either a male or a female. But from the origin, we are one. That's very interesting. We are one, we are it. Society helps us, make up what we are. As I say, epigenetics, the environment, and also our mission in life. But that's another thing, but you have to keep it in touch. Okay. Since the beginning of cultures, old ages, ancient world, there has been time where the female part, it's more intense. It's called the patriarchal and matriarchal. Okay, sorry. So there have been ages where there's been a matriarchal society. Areas in Tibet, in Nepal, Burma, and all that still have matriarchal tribes where, for example, this is very interesting, women can have or are allowed to have in their society many men in this polygamy, but being the women, the essential part, and men around her. Besides other cultures, like Muslim cultures, they have a man, which is a patriarchal society, and many women. But this has been all over in times. Now, from our history, our recent history, we are on a patriarchal society. Men has been dominating and all the male thing. Okay, I'll leave you there and let's go back to physiology. Remember that the brain has two hemispheres. You know that. One hemisphere is male dominant, it's a yang dominant, and the other hemisphere is a female dominant, yin dominant. I don't know which one it is, but you know that there's one female and the other one is male. Okay. The yin or female side of the brain hemisphere tends to be more intuitive, more loving, more attached to beauty, to abstract things, etc., etc. And the male hemisphere tends to be more concise, more logical, more male thing. You understand. Okay. The ideal thing is to have connections, neural connections with both hemispheres. How do we do that? That we do with certain exercises, with certain work on you, because we have to go back to where we came from. We have to back to becoming it, a being, not a male, not a female, but a being, a human being. And we know a lot about our humanity. We know that we breathe, we know that we eat, we need food, we go to the bathroom, we have a digestive system. We know a lot about our human part. But up to now, we're just starting to learn or to have an idea what our being part is. We don't have much idea of what our being is because our education in our societies give us all the information to be humans, to work, to have family, to make money, travel, which all of this has stopped because of the coronavirus, which is very interesting. It's a very interesting state of our evolution that we have lost all of those things which are a male part of the brain. The male part of the brain is what's working, and it's sort of like it's shut down for the moment. Okay, so the female part gives art, gives the sense of family, of nurturing, etc. So we have to balance both sides. How do you balance it? You balance it through exercises that are called psychophysical exercises. Example, Tai Chi Chuan is a psychophysical exercise because it works both sides of the brain through movement. Yoga is another psychophysical exercise because you turn your body one side, you turn the other side, you bend it, you make it go backwards. It stimulates the spinal cord, the medulla. It makes your both hemispheres to interconnect. That's why the word yoga comes from Sanskrit yug, Yug means unity, union. Union, you know, if you want to call it on a metaphysical, ontological point of view, unity between God and human being, perfect, metaphysical. But physiologically speaking, the union of both brains, of both hemispheres, through synapses of neurons, and they become to connect. You start seeing both sides of the world, of reality. Carl Jung explained it when he said, okay, we psychologically have one side of our personality, of our psychological constitution developed. If you're a male, you have your animus more developed. On a symbolical, mythological point of view, there's a saying that when you're a male, your Aiden is open, your Aiden is active, and your Eve is asleep. Jung said, your anima is asleep, and your young part, your male part, your animus is active. Jung said, what you have to do is what I'm telling you, you have to make both sides, both energies, try to make one. Okay, if I'm a male, I express myself as a young energy. I need to find my yin part, my anima. That's why we look around when we are adolescents to meet girls and vice versa. Ladies, when they're adolescent, tend to look for guys. And all this, you know, dancing of love and of courtship and of seducing starts on a very primitive level, and then more sophisticated depending on your epigenetic, of your cultural background, etc., your genes also. And that's why we tend to attract to each other. And that attraction, that intense attraction, when you make it complete, feel, it's called love. And that is what makes partners or couples join together and make family and make the civilization. Okay, that's in theory. Remember, this is theory. But in the practice, it's so difficult to really make that union, make that yoke, because personalities are so strong, are different, etc., etc. But the explanation of why we look to each other, why we tend to seek to each other, is because I'm looking to find my Eve, my active Eve, because mine is asleep. And I find it, I'm going to find it in another person which has an active. And the lady, girl, looks to find for its animus, the active part male, but she has it latent. So we try to look what is missing to each other. Okay, that is very basic relations, but let's go to the divine aspect of this. Okay. The absolute, God, or however you want to call it, the one, the beginning, Jehovah, Allah, whatever, doesn't matter, the name doesn't matter. In the Hindi tradition, that means the whole, the Tat, they call it the Tat. When he creates the universe, the Big Bang, you know, it's sort of like he pronounces a mantra. It says, Om. And that vibration of the OM, it's vibrating, makes everything occurs, makes everything happen. Stars, the novas, the black holes, the galaxies, everything that's created, from the biggest part, the most immense sized parts, up to the little tiny viruses. The coronavirus is a creation of God. No matter what, it's evil or whatever, it's a creation of the absolute. Okay? Okay. So we're vibrating on that humongous, big, archetypical vibration. Okay. But when he expands and creates the universe, he splits. And he makes everything positive and negative, male and female, day and night, tall and short, fat and thin. In reality, everything is dual. You cannot conceive reality through our perspective without duality. It's a dialectic process. You know, you're there because you're seeing me here, and the other guys are here on Zoom, and you know you're there by comparison. I know I'm here, and you're there because we establish space and time, and we compare to each other. But if there wasn't that perspective of creation, we didn't know where we were, who we are, etc. Okay, so he splits. In Spanish, it's called a section. He sectionates, he opens. And that's why, symbolically speaking, religion, Christian religion, Catholic religion, talks about the beast. 666. Actually, it's not 666, the number, although it has a mathematical explanation. But it's called 6, seis in Latin, ses, sex. In other languages, in English also. You have an intuition where I'm going to? Through sex, we attract each other and we try to make the effort or the work to become a whole again. Through the attraction of poles, that's why it's so strong. The need to reproduce, okay, on a level, but on a spiritual level, they need to become a whole again. Okay, so the absolute splits, makes yin and yang, and then he makes another entity he creates because of that dialectic process of the two, makes another potential thing. In religion, we have it called the Son, because it's Father, Mother, Son, God, Son, Holy Spirit, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Te, Yin, Yang, Horus, Osiris, Isis. In our cultures, Ometeotl, Ometicutl, Omecihuatl. And we go on all over the cultures, and there's always the Trinity, the triunity, which becomes from the beginning of the dialectic process that tend to meet and make another thing. And this goes on and on and on. You name it, it's there in every culture. Okay? Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that is a principle. Young call it a potential. It's on our collective unconsciousness, that knowledge. What we try to do in this time, this new millennium, this new era, this new age, is to make all that information conscious so we can work on it. Okay, why is the female side Shiva, a Shakti, a divinity, or it's divine? Okay, because when that tat splits, he becomes involutionating, he becomes descending on a vibrational level, on a spiritual level, a mental level, an energetic level, on a physical level. And who expresses that divinity on earth, on a physical level, on reality? Who gives life? Female. So female, the deity, Mary, the eternal virgin, Maria, Maya, etc., whatever the name is, the eternal virgin is constantly giving birth to form. She is the creator of forms. Women gives life, not only to a baby, to a calf, a little animal, a newborn. She gives life to forms on a mental level, on a spiritual level. She is the inspirer. But until now, on this yin-yang thing, who has been in charge of giving form to that form? Men. Okay? Men makes culture, makes things, works on iron, the Iron Age, agriculture, while mother was breeding and breastfeeding, etc. But now it's time that both poles start working together, joint venture, to make this world better, because both energies are necessary. Okay, of course, of course. Okay, so imagine in the ancient cultures, the cult to Isis, the cult to the moon, to Selene, the cult, the Vestals, the witches, the ¿cómo se dice? Sacerdote, the ladies, the priestess. They were all in charge of giving forms. That's why men have been so afraid, because they know that they cannot give form and they tend to violate. Listen to this. Violation is part of that unconscious thing. They burn witches. They put women aside because of they're afraid of the potential that women have to give birth to life and to forms, because they're the ones that express that. Okay. Understanding this, let's see what the other role is. So you guys over there don't feel a little bit, I don't swallow that. No. Once it has been giving birth, man has the potential, because of the hemisphere that he has active, to that energy, make it go up. And as you have seen through history, the solar heroes, the avatars, have been male. Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Christ, Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, Horus, etc., because they're the ones in ancient history that have, with that energy that has been given by their predecessor, their mother, they have made that rise and go back to the fountain, to the origin. So it's established a circle. That's why the Egyptians used to have that snake biting its own tail in Ouroboros. The snake was biting its own tail because it's the eternal circle. The eternal circle. Because it comes from the fountain, it descends on vibration, it expresses on Mary, the eternal virgin, gives birth to the solar hero, to the one that's going to conquer spirituality and move back. It comes again. Okay. Storytelling, fables. Remember that the solar heroes go and look for and rescue the princess all the time. And they go through many difficulties and a path full of difficulties. And at the end, they rescue the princess and they give her a kiss. And if you're not ready, you became a toad. And if not, you just rescue her and you walk on your horse, and end of story, they live happily ever after. That is a symbolism of our collective unconscious, that men, to fulfill and to make the journey, needs a woman. That's why they say, behind every great man, there is a woman. Churchill wouldn't have been Churchill if it wasn't for his wife. Roosevelt wouldn't have been Roosevelt if it wasn't for his wife. Napoleon wouldn't be Napoleon if he didn't have Josephine. And all over through history, men are the ones that are on the news, they are taking pictures and blah, blah, blah. But behind every great man, there is a lady that tells him, Napoleon, don't go to Russia. It's too cold. No, I'm going to conquer Russia. Don't worry, I'm the biggest, I'm the greatest. Man. And Joseph would say, don't go to Russia. You're going to be in trouble. It's damn cold. Your troops are going to die there. No, I'm the best. He went to Russia. Look what happened. He failed. Who do you think was helping and telling Churchill every step that he was doing? I read his biography, I saw the movie, it's beautiful. I mean, Churchill was, imagine having to support German invasion, the Battle of Britain, etc., but he had somebody there. Roosevelt, after Pearl Harbor, he had Eleanor telling him, man, you have to get those Japanese. We have to go to war. You have to make industry work. If not, the whole democracy, the whole free world is going to ruin. No, but Eleanor, we don't have the power enough, blah, blah, blah. Go for it. And he did. And he changed history. Hitler had her Eva Braun. So the energy, that creative energy from the yin pole of female, the Shakti, is so active that it makes men do impossible things. They're the muses that inspire. Remember all the muses that are in the theater? They're all females. They're not males. That make the man work his left side of the brain or right side of the brain, the female part, and he creates. And both make civilization. Okay. What has happened in the last few years, or a couple of, the last 100 years since 20th century? Women, before that, remember the image of the French Revolution? It is not a guy who's taking the flag, the French flag. It's a woman. The symbolism of French Revolution is a woman that is carrying the flag. The symbolism of the Spanish Civil War, the Pasionaria, you can find it up and Google it. The Pasionaria, it's a female guerrilla lady that said to the Republican, you won't pass through here. And she was with the rifle and she stopped the communists and everything. And women were so put down in this past age, in this past era, the Piscean era. We have to look that. We can talk about astrology after to understand what's going on. Women have put aside. Muslim culture is still part of that Piscean way of thinking. That women have to walk behind them. They cover their face with the burqa, and they're put aside. Not aside, behind. But what has happened in our Western society? Women have been working hard, fighting for their rights, for them to have this place in society that they not only deserve, that they have to be there so men can grow on a spiritual evolutionary way. First, the right to vote. Remember the fights for women, the right to vote, etc. Jobs. That movie I just saw about these 3 Black women that work in the NASA project, that fantastic. And all this movies and works and history of women fighting for the rights and becoming and taking this place. This is a very interesting thing. There's more women teaching yoga right now all over the world than men. Men, since we're more a little bit gregarious, looking soccer or football or baseball, you'll see the stadiums crowded mostly with men. But when there's work with culture, with spirituality, with making spiritual high, there's mostly women because that's their job. So in this era that we're living, this modern age, this 21st century, you see that most women are walking even a little bit step ahead of men, or we have to start walking, or they're walking besides. And what is happening? We're making a better world thanks to the energy of the female part, the Shakti. Who contacted me? 2 girls, Jackie and Myra. Who is speaking? Oscar. Soon we'll teach Myra and we'll teach Jackie, and they will be speaking. But it's a perfect balance. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be practicing my English. It wouldn't have the area of my brain that connects with languages. I would be a little bit dumber than I am right now because of them. See, in the family, my master used to say, el timón, the steering wheel is run by the male, but the compass, the direction, is given by the female. And that is so true. That is so true. Because sometimes my personal experience with my girlfriends or fiance or my ex-wife, we're going to do that. We means I'm going to do that. So let's rephrase it. Well, we're going to do this on the family level. No, you know what? We, and that's a we, then that's a we. We should do this. I think this is the way we should do this. No. We, that means I am going to do this. No, listen to this plan. And she argues and she will tell me, and then I will think and always listen to her. Okay, we'll do this. Bingo. Perfect. When we, me, decide, no, I'm going to do this, bam. I hit myself in the head, forehead, because being so jerk. So remember, men are the steering wheel, but the compass is a woman. It's mother. Okay, go ahead, G.
Oh, thank you so much, Oscar. I'm really enjoying listening to you. It's so beautiful what you're saying, and very much a part of my own, if I could say, education or life's experiences have brought me to the same similar conclusions. One thing I would like to bring up within my own personal experience, which I think is what's happening on the planet, of course, because when you go from the one, you also are part of the whole, as you've discussed. Le tout et le un, as we say in French, the one and the overall. Is that there is this balancing now that's happening of yin and yang, where it's no longer the man at the steering wheel and the woman the compass. We can be the two together. And that what I'm finding is that the relationship with the male aspect, the female is helping the male come in contact with the feminine, the yin, and vice versa. The male is helping the female aspect to become yang. And so we're balancing yin yang, but we're also balancing in the couple, the yin yang, which is very healing, and it allows us to move forward as one, not separate any longer. Even though we are individualized, we become one unit. We call it a whole orange. And where I'm going with that is this balancing of the powers, if you like, the balancing of yin yang is allowing us to reconnect with the whole universe. So instead of being separate from the world, we are one. We are the tree, we are the water, we are the air, we are the plants, the animals, and moving forward so we can be compassionate and re-see our connection. Re-see, not just learn it for the first time, because we've always been connected, we just forgot. But Rudolf Steiner talks about this. He says that at this time in the millennium, that the polarities would no longer be so strong, that we would become connected, one, which you're talking about, human beings. I love this. I really am living this. We are living this forward. And it's really part of the conversation earlier was, how can we be midwives and help others to birth into this understanding? You know, are we going to have more viruses that are going to slap us around so we can learn it through loss and suffering? Or can we help our fellow human beings birth into this beautiful new way of moving forward? Thank you.
Yes. Totally agree with you, completely. I have to tell you this. When my master told me this about the steering wheel, that was 45 years ago. So it's kind of history. Now we're making history day by day. And besides, another thing he used to say. He was Mexican born. He says, you have to remember, I'm a Mexican maestro, a Mexican guru, a macho. You'll have to forgive that to me. But he did a lot of way of thinking at that time. Remember, this is 40 years ago he said that, but I'm completely agree with you. Both in the steering wheel, both in the compass. And just look at your kids. Our kids are millennials. It's a totally different thing. Totally different concept, totally different thing. And that's why they're so knowledgeable in technology and in other things and in helping, in solidarity. Something that we had to learn through life. They have it just like that. You know, so yeah, you're right. It's true. And we have to, it's like when you walk, you don't feel it because it's spontaneous and instantly, but you put the strength in the feet that you're leaving behind. You let go the front feet for a little while, doesn't have any gravity force at all, and then you put it back on the ground, and then you go and do the next step, and the next step. So one leg is the women, the other leg is the men. So we go like that. Completely agree. Yes. Thank you very much for that. Who else wants to participate, to talk, to argue? I mean, this is not the whole truth. It's just my perspective, my point of view, and the difficulty expressing it in English. But, you know, so somebody wants to say anything else or
I just wanted to tease you for a second as well, because I think the saying is, behind every great man is an even greater woman.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
Oh, you're right. I mean, you're right. You're right. Definitely, I agree with that. I can tell it on my own personal life. I can tell that. Yeah, you're right. Well, I didn't want to be so mean to guys, you know, but you're right. Okay. Somebody else that wants to say something? Jackie, Ronald, Stephanie?
Is there a queue? Is there anyone? Because I do have someone that sent me questions is watching.
How do you do that? I don't know. I just have you on screen. Do you have that question?
Jamin will let me know if it's whose turn it is to speak, if anyone else.
You're next, Jackie. Hello, Oscar. Welcome. You're next.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're next, Jackie, followed by James. Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay. I have my friend Melvin that's watching on the live stream. He just texted me and asked if I could pose his questions. His questions are: it is biological that women, the feminine historically, has been portrayed behind powerful, violent men. In matriarchal societies, how was power authority distributed? Were these societies prone to violence and conquest against other groups?
Okay. Really, I don't know the answers, but I'm going to think of it. I don't know if biologically there's an explanation, maybe genetically, but I would say so. I will give you some examples. Imagine a mother that is confronted to an attack or to a situation of distress to her son, cub, calf, kitten, or whatever. They are the most violent and strong enemies to protect his child. So in certain ways, the amount of adrenaline, the amount of cortisol that we secrete on a biological aspect, I think is the same. Maybe due to the constitution of the body, maybe women, quote, are a little weaker, quote, because of the constitution. Maybe male have sort of like stronger arms, etc. On a normal scale. And maybe adrenaline and cortisol, which are the hormones that make you react, maybe are more stronger on a physiological aspect on men. Maybe, I'm not quite sure, but that response. The other answer, if we think of the Amazons and the Valkyries, they were warriors. I don't know if matriarchy made it more violent or not. I think that depends on the evolution of societies. it has to do with more men and women. I give you an example. When we were at war here in El Salvador in the 80s, some of the most intense and powerful and more aggressive members of the guerrillas were women. There was a chase trying to get her, to catch her, and I know her because she's one of my patients, Nidia Diaz. Now she's in Parliament, she's in the Congress. When she tells her story, when she was captured with a helicopter and they shoot her, and still she was wounded, 2 bullets and 16 bullets, and she was still fighting. There's a documentary on how they captured her and everything. She was more intense and violent and aggressive than a man. She was a heroine in that term. So I don't know exactly if when this matriarchy was on ruling, we were less or more violent. I think it had to do with the stage of humanity. That I can tell you. And although we have been taught to see women as weaker, but I think we're mostly the same. For example, I know for sure, because I'm a doctor, that women are stronger to support pain than men. That is for sure. I've seen it. And I can tell by myself because I'm a wimp, according to pain. But women are really strong. Yes, Lee. Oh, there you are.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we've got James in the queue, followed by Miles, followed by Melissa. Go for it, James.
Thanks, Chairman. I would agree there with the last statement there as well. Throughout history, all societies warred with other societies for one reason or another. But regardless, the feminine instinct is to protect our young. So whether that involved protecting the society in order to protect the young, but there was always a woman there behind the leader. But I would add as well that though they might have been advocating in a sense of violence, to the man's question that rang, they were also, it was true out of a sense of defense, and they always had a compassionate side as well, whereas they reminded the man of the children, the refugees, the more compassionate side to war. Like, so that was they were there for that. Like, I mean, that's where they came in their feminine beauty, as far as I'm concerned. But my main point that I was making was with regards to the yin and the yang of the male and the female being drawn together. I get that, and that's where like the male and the female are drawn together, but they're in the search for the yin, the male part is search for the female, and the female in search for the male. I get that in a sense, but I'm wondering, like, is that could that be viewed as well then, in the sense, like, there are a lot of men out there as well that like are females out there that are single and who have done, who've been brilliant people and things like that. You know what I'm saying? They still had the influence of females behind them, not necessarily in a relationship either. So it's just the female influence. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm probably getting lost to what I'm saying here now. Like for me, in my life, my daughter is like has been in my later life, has been my influence, a guide or compass, so to speak. Especially where it came to feminine matters, I suppose, making me think in a different way, and I directly put that down to my daughter, my relationship with my daughter, being able to speak to her like that. She's like my other half in a sense, in that, but I would have been similar then with my daughter. She's kind of picked up that male attribute for me then, because I've been a lone parent. And I gave her my influence as she had majority male influence from me, I suppose, when she was a young child, in her youngest years and most influential years, 1 to 10. But as she got older in her teenage years and went through her own process of, maturing and everything else, it was as she became a young adult. And as I started to wander from my own path, that she started to become my compass as well. Like, so I agree with 100% with what you're saying, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be partnership other than relationship, regardless of the relationship. There's, I agree with what you're saying, but that's the point I'm making.
Well, I agree. Remember that I'm talking very generalities, very, very general speaking. There's details and specific situations and stuff, but generally speaking, it's just a point of view, and you can pick from the generally speaking the little detail and say, okay, this works here, this works here, etc. But I agree with you. Interesting.
All right. Really good stuff. All right. Next up is Miles. Welcome, Miles. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jamin. And thank you, Dr. Molina. This is wonderful. I've taken notes. And just prior to you arriving, I happen to have shared Dr. Carl Jung's definition of God. And in summary, it's basically God's the name by which I designate all things which cross my willful path, good and bad, including viruses. I'm new to Jung, but it's been quite an influence on me, and what you've said is so much reinforcement for where I'm going with hopefully on this journey. And in the previous conversation before you arrived, I stated that I've determined that I'm now a theologian, but I wanted to add that when I say that, because there's other people who purport to be theologians, and I would say, well, I disagree with your interpretation of the Bible. And so when I say I'm a theologian, it's because I'm the expert in myself, my capital S self, as Dr. Jung describes it. So just for that point of clarification. Now, men have, it's horrible, it's just terrible, and I feel it's hard to, I need to be very reverent in this moment. But I want to share something on the screen here that somebody pointed out to me very recently and said, indeed, modern Christianity has cropped out the feminine, and just like in a photograph, literally cropped out the divine feminine. So let me show everybody a photo. I never realized this before. So just bear with me as I pull this photo up. And this is thanks to a presentation done by Skip Conover, who talks about Carl Jung. This is the painting of the Sistine Chapel. But what I've never, and I've even walked under this, but I never even appreciated it until just the other day. If you see, God here is reaching over to Adam and not quite touching. There's a gap, there's a synapse needed. But notice what God has his arm around Sophia, the divine feminine, the wisdom. Also notice that he's encased in a womb. The background of what he's in with the other entities is a womb. And indeed, he's wearing pink, not a white gown. So Michelangelo, perhaps subversively, maybe, I don't know, but he slipped this in. And I would also want to add and conclude with that there was papal complicity in the era of that there was complicity of popes in the era of the burning of witches. I'll conclude with that.
Yeah, I just 3 days ago I just saw on television The Agony and the Ecstasy, Rex Harrison and Charlton Heston. He talks about the life of Michelangelo and the Pope. Very interesting, and that symbolism that Miles had just pinpointed was there. I do believe that. Remember, it was the Renaissance. And all these new concepts coming upon, we were leaving the Middle Ages, Dark Age, etc. So it was this new thing coming up. It's exactly what's happening right now. We're on a renaissance, on a technological, spiritual development, similar in a higher octave scale of the Renaissance. So you were right. The symbolism is there for the eye to see it, the eye that's ready, and to see it and to understand it.
Oscar, you might be frozen. Can you hear me, Oscar? Okay, Oscar's frozen for a moment, but hopefully he'll be back. Jackie, Maida, Melissa, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll,
Yeah.
Jackie, unless you had something to say. No. Yeah, so one thing I wanted to share that this is bringing up is the realm of mythology, that we are the myth. You know, there are these archetypes at play in the universe which very much influence our lives, and these myths, and we're all part of these different stories or fairy tales or myths. And back when I was living in Belgium, actually, and I think it's what's interesting about being an artist, it's not just artists, of course, but when artists are very intuitive and we go into these unknown territories and we can tap into these archetypes and these myths, and particularly if you're interested in storytelling. And so when I was living in Belgium, this is back in the 90s, one of the things that we were working on was a performance piece. It was called Le Chant de Lilith, which in French, translation from French means Lilith's song. And there is a story that at the beginning of time, God created Adam and Eve. But actually, it wasn't Adam and Eve, it was Adam and Lilith. And they were one. And he split them apart. So here's the splitting of the yin yang, right? From the oneness to the polarities, the split experience. So for thousands of years, we've been having this experience of being split from God, split from the oneness, split from connection. And we've had this experience of lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of yin or yang. And I was aware back in the 90s that what is starting to happen is we were coming back into fusion of the two aspects, fusing together to become one again. And that's why it was called Lilith's song, because what happened in one of the versions, story versions of Lilith, is that Adam and Lilith quarreled over power. And I believe it was Adam who wanted the power. And God intervened, and said, Lilith, you must diminish your light, go down and diminish your light. And she became the lunar aspect, so the shadow aspect, as the patriarchy came up and became solar. But Lilith knew she was solar. But so the Christianity took it, and she became a fornicator with the demons, right? So she was really put into the realm of sin. You know, that's a patriarchy saying, woman, go down because you are not worthy. You must be soumis, you know, suppressed. So she, in the story, she had it off with the devil and created all these little demons, which were supposedly responsible, her offspring, for all the troubles in the world. You know, women being the trouble of the world. But now what's happening is there's this there has been this passage where the two aspects of ourselves has been looking to bring the two together into one whole thing where we can reconnect with God. And that's what this Chant de Lilith was about. It was going in search of the other half of ourselves, which I believe we have all been doing. We've been looking for our other half in order to reconnect, to be balanced wholes. And I find that fascinating that through art and through storytelling, the kernels or the seeds of truth are there. And if we can uncover those, and through our creativity, whether it's through music, writing, dance, poetry, visual arts, conversation, cooking, gardening, I mean, can go on, we could find that rootedness in the story of creation that we're all part of. And then we discover these clues that are leading us back to, or leading us into truth, into our evolutionary process of becoming.
Thank you. All righty. Looks like Oscar is still not back with us. Hopefully he'll reconnect. Meanwhile, Jackie has her hand raised. Go for it, Jackie.
I'm so glad you brought up, Melissa, about the artist and the storytelling. It's coincidence. Just last night, I registered and enrolled to take 2 shamanism courses, and the first one being Celtic shamanism. And the reason being, the instructor talked so much about Celtic shamanism being so rich in stories, and about that reconnection of nature, and how powerful and how much they revere the spoken word and the voice and communication. And to me, that's everything. We're all about stories, and I'm a storyteller. Remember we were talking yesterday, you said you speak with your hands. I'm a storyteller. I speak with my heart about my experiences. And so when he was talking about the females being the compass, that really resonated a lot with me, especially being a mother of boys. It's like, I watch it every day. I witness it every day. The ability of that storytelling, the ability of the feminine to be in that heart space and to transmute experiences in story, that when we communicate and we resonate with that male side, it's almost as if it's the wisdom that's actualizing through them. And I'm watching it every day through my boys, how the wisdom that I've garnered through my experience, through my storytelling, is filters through their experience, through their male side, and they analyze, and then they actualize my experiences through their filter, and it's beautiful to watch. And I'm just very grateful that when we see the ability to see, and like he was talking about, and I hope he comes back to talk about like the Aquarian age that we're entering, about that knowing and seeing, about that storytelling, about that ability to understand the power of that voice, the power of the communication, the power of understanding that things come into our reality. And we have the courage to say yes. We have to have the ability to know and understand and actualize that wisdom and be that compass. And so I agree with what you were saying, Melissa, about this is a time for all of us to bring that balance within us each. But I also see it on the external, in that third dimension form of how we have to balance the steering with the compass. And I see that happening right now into leaving the Piscean age and entering the Aquarian age. And like I said, I hope he comes back to discuss that a little more, because I think it's very pertinent to what we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Myra, I'm going to call on you next. You have your hand up, but I just wanted to say, you've just reminded me, when he was talking about, I think there was a question that came up about violence and force and power and strength, women versus men. I don't think it was put as in a versus, but I'm going to put it like that. I remember somewhere reading about the ancient goddess cult. So this is going thousands of years, when it was matriarchal societies, certainly in pagan groups, so Ireland and north of Europe, Scotland, etc., where the priestesses, the high priestesses, the culture sounds to me like it was organized like a honeybee hive, where there were like drones that go out to find the mate for the high priestess. But after their job was performed, sorry, not the drones, the worker bees go out to look for the drones. After their job of fertilizing was done, they were sacrificed. And that's really kind of made me think about, you know, this whole thing of how we treat life and how we see, you know, strength and power. Like in a beehive, it's understood that once the drone's job is done, they're forced out of the hive and they die at the door of the hive, which to our minds and psyches seems very cruel. And I witnessed that and I was going, oh my God, how could they do that? You know, those poor little drones, you know, but it's their job is done. And the thing is, it's the hive, the whole of the hive that's important, the queen, and the honey has to be kept, and whatever sustenance is there in the hive to get her through the winter so that the hive will survive in the following year. So I think if we look at our own hive, our humanity hive, from a higher aspect, what is the hierarchy? And how is it working and how is it not working? And how do we need it to get to? And then what are the roles within that health of the hive that we have to assume from this more matriarchal vision or viewpoint, which is about balancing and compassion. So Myra, I'm going to call on you, sweetie.
Hey, well, I've been thinking this week, meditating especially, how within us in the Divine Feminine, how do we, I'm trying to find a good word to describe those type of situations, but how do we come all together to kind of change that whole aspect of having people in society still hurting the vulnerable ones. Like, let's say, for example, the narcissistic type of guys or even women that are still taking advantage of that vulnerable side of the Divine Feminine. I was meditating on it and I'm like, maybe we have to get rid of this from the root. And maybe if we step up and say that physically and emotional abuse is the same thing, we have to get out there and let judges know that they have to implement a law that emotional abuse has to be punished the same way as physical abuse. Because before, a lot of the Divine Feminine, they were killed physically. We're not talking about thousands of years. That narcissistic way has been punishing and harming and killing this type of woman or those type of men that were so much into the Divine Feminine. Now, obviously, because we're in a very more evolutionized age, if they do a physical harm, they go to jail. But now they try to kill you emotionally. And that is devastating. I see it with a lot of friends. I've been dealing with them myself throughout my life, just dealing with all those type of narcissistic characters. And you just get to a point where I had enough. No matter how much I try to step away and no matter how much I try to erase myself and bloom, those type of narcissistic people, it's almost like they feed themselves by trying to, I don't know if it's because they feel inferior, but they try to step over you. They try to make you miserable. I do highly believe that we're going to have to come to a moment where all these divine feminines, we're going to have to start getting together and fight this all together. Emotional, physical abuse, same punishment, same. And I think this is a way that we can get rid of that and become a more loving consciousness within our society. That's something that I wanted to mention and I wanted to bring up because I've been dealing with this situation for 7 years. And I do believe that enough is enough.
Love it. Jackie has her hand up, followed by Jamin. Go. I love what you're saying, Myra. I can't wait to comment. Go for it, Jackie.
Myra and I have had numerous conversations about this, and this is one of the delicate conversations. In my experience, and again, I'm a storyteller. So in my experience, I was raised by a narcissistic mother who in her later years became a malignant narcissist. It is, in my opinion, it is through my experience and through my learning that there was a toxic masculine energy that was inhabited or adopted in order for her to learn how to navigate the troubles and the pains in her own life. And I think, in my opinion, that we, especially we that embody the divine feminine, that embody the female physical form, are the key to healing and love is vulnerability. And I think sometimes in this society and the way that this society has turned, vulnerability becomes weakness. And I think that we as women have lost the ability to tap into that masculine ability of discernment of boundaries. And I think that that's what happens when we're in the female form. We see ourselves that we need to be loving and caring and be that compass, and we become almost pathologically feminine. We go way to the other end of the spectrum when we leave our balance in the middle, where there is the feminine and there is the masculine. There is that love, there is that nurturing, there is that wisdom, there is that guidance, but there is that ability to stand your ground and have agency and learn discernment and understand that judgment is a pathological way of using discernment. Discernment is merely, I'm not judging, but is this healthy for me? Is this something that's going to contribute to my life, or is this something that I need to put a boundary up? And we don't know how to do that. We have forgotten how to do that. And I believe that hi, Oscar is back. It has been intentionally imposed on us, and the stories that have been told on us that if females put up boundaries or have power, then there's something wrong. We're not being good. We're not being decidedly what females are supposed to, that role that society puts on us. Then I think our power in the feminine is that we can do both. We can be in that loving space. We can be the caretakers. We can be the teachers. We can be the nurses and the guides and the moms. But we also have to have the ability to stand in our power, in our agency, and put those boundaries up and say, no, not in my space. This is a reciprocal relationship. I contribute to the whole, but you must contribute. And if you're not contributing anything that then I can grow in this space, then that is something that I need to put up a boundary about. And I think that that's something that we as a society, both men and women, need to cultivate back in and start looking at roles again, because I think we're all falling into the roles of society that puts us vulnerable to that kind of behavior.
Beautiful. And welcome back, Oscar. And
Yes.
I know that sometimes there are technical difficulties. I know it's not your fault. And thank you for doing whatever you needed to do to come back in. We're having a great conversation here. I just wanted to comment that in terms of the divine feminine and the attacks on the divine feminine, etc., I'm brought back to something that Oscar said at the beginning of this conversation, that it's really about the union, the unity of the two. We need each other. And I personally believe that it's not necessarily the woman's job to have to stand up and fight and be a defender. I think that's the man's job. And we saw an example of this at a previous meeting on Tuesday this week, where there was a woman who was being very vulnerable and very open and sharing, and immediately a man stepped in and attacked her. And I had to mute him and give him a timeout and say no. And he left the meeting, hasn't come back since, and that's fine. I sent him a note afterwards saying, listen, if you want to come back to our meetings, we need to have a one-on-one conversation about ground rules, right? And because there's a lot of men have really gotten into this bad habit of, if they see weakness, if they see vulnerability, they attack, right? And we've seen this in so many aspects of society. When I was working with President Vicente Fox of Mexico to end prohibition and end organized crime around drugs and the trafficking of drugs, I got attacked and my life threatened by criminal drug cartels. And so I then went out and got a Darth Vader costume, a professional Darth Vader costume, and made a giant sign, Melissa help me, saying criminal drug cartels out of the state of Washington. And I started doing public performances and singing love songs in public, right, to the drug cartels and to everyone, and really taking a stand. Well, that resulted in more death threats, and it's just been an ongoing back and forth. But I actually felt great standing up as Darth Vader, taking a stand against organized crime. These are the ones who are doing human trafficking of young girls as sex slaves, et cetera, et cetera. And where I really see the magic is literally right here in this meeting. Divine feminine and the masculine coming together, right? And creating, for lack of a better word, a new deal, a new structure, a new context for humanity. And I think if we stick together, we will totally do this, because I don't see any more powerful force than Creator herself or himself or whatever. And again, I think it's the unity, that I don't think it's a him or a her. I think it's a power. It's creation. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
I'd love to just say
please. Yeah.
I just want to jump back to what Jackie was saying in response to Myra. I think it's not one protecting the other. It's that we need to come together and work as a unity. And I also, if I heard you correctly, Jackie, what I totally have experienced through domestic violence myself is that it's only when you decide to take your own power back and you say no to abuse that you stop attracting it. And it's a powerful thing, and it's about setting boundaries, and it's about self-worth. It's about learning self-worth and to love yourself, to honor yourself, and to set very clear boundaries of what is okay and what is not okay. And then I think we can, once you come back into your own power and essence and understand your divine purpose here on this earth, then we can work together. It's, where sometimes the woman has to step in because she's carrying the key to a particular issue or problem. Or sometimes it's the man, or sometimes it's the two together. I don't think it's just one way anymore. But it's how do we create now this society where that is the rule, if I could say, the golden rule forward. Jackie,
right.
It looks like you're up next, honey.
Thank you. That was beautiful, Melissa. Thank you so much. And I wanted to add that we speak a lot about the divine feminine, and then we add in the masculine. But the divine masculine is what has been forgotten. men that embody the masculine form have forgotten their divinity. And it is in my humble opinion that my job as a divine feminine is to cultivate an environment where the divine masculine can once again reawaken. But again, it's with power and with agency and with love. It's that combination. And I think we in the female form have the obligation to share our truth and story and learn how to communicate effectively when we set those boundaries. But we have to do the work ourselves and remember who we are in our divinity. Because once we remember our divinity, that power and that agency, it just emanates. It is up to us to reawaken that within ourselves, to find that divinity within ourselves, to love ourselves so much that the idea of anyone coming into my space and dishonoring my divinity and my sacred space, I love myself so much that there's no way that I would allow that in my space. And I think that's what we have to remember, is that divinity that we all have within ourselves. And when we have the toxic masculine, just like toxic feminine, coming into our space to say lovingly, I can love you, but I love you from a distance. I love you and I wish you the best, but those behaviors are communications of unhealthiness that's within you. And I am here to support that growth and that healing within you. But if you are not in a space, then I have to bless you from a distance and give you your own path and allow you your space and honor your journey and your path, but it doesn't have to be within me and within my safety. And I think that's where we have to learn to awaken and honor everyone's path and divinity without saying, I wish I could change. This needs to stop. It's always pointing on the outside, and we have to go on the inside and say, well, what am I allowing in my space? Why am I inviting this? Why is this okay? And I think that's a lot to do with our self-worth, like you were talking about, limits and boundaries.
Yes, Oscar.
like in first grade. Sorry about that. It's internet problems. It's saturated. I was getting the ideas, and now we're in kind of the part of relationships in behavior, as Jackie said. Remember, we have to, as she mentioned, first we have to heal ourselves. Remember, we have a background coming from our parents, our environment, our friends, and we come from a generation still of parents that didn't know a thing. I mean, they didn't knew nothing about how to educate, about how to cultivate values, etc. Most of us are baby boomers. In a way, maybe Jackie and Mike are more near to millennials, but most of us are baby boomers. And our parents didn't know a thing about educating. So we grew up sort of like on certain values that now are totally upside down. So this whole process is to re-educate ourselves. What we're doing right now is a part of re-education, to spread the message, to inform people of new things, of alternative things, and just listen to the word alternative. That means that there is a stream of knowledge, but there's also an alternative way of seeing things. We're on the alternative area, in an alternative way. We have to re-educate first ourselves. And then we have to start fighting against our emotions, our shadows, our backgrounds, even our genes. We have to modify our genes because we have inherited some patterns of behavior. We saw for years patterns of behavior that were mostly patterns of separatism, not patterns of joining, of love. Our parents didn't know much. I mean, they were ignorant in a good sense. So we have to restart, first of all, educating ourselves, recognizing our shadows in ourselves. And when we recognize them, then we won't see them in others, because we tend to see our shadows in the others. Oh, you this, you that, you are jealous, you are an angry man, you are whatever. But when we see in others, it's that because we have it inside ourselves. So we have to start working on ourselves. And how do we work on ourselves? Well, this is my experience. I'll share it with you. First, you have to make your body not hyper-react or hyper-react. You have to lower the stress that your body has. How do you do that? Nutrition. That's why veganism and vegetarianism is taking so much, ¿cómo se dice? Space, because the kids have understood that when they eat a certain type of food, mostly vegetables, veganism, they don't hyperreact. Adrenaline is in the lower level. Besides all the health things, inflammation, your pH in the blood, etc. But that's medical stuff. But talking about behavior, when you don't eat meat, the portion, the part of the body of an animal that is cut, fried or whatever, and eaten, you tend to diminish your adrenaline in your body, because remember that part of meat, that the portion of that body of that animal has, in the moment of his death, no matter how he was killed, and slaughterhouses are not really gentle to do this, the animal fears. He has fear that he's going to be chopped, killed. So he sends out the adrenaline to the muscles. And if there's not a biochemical structure of adrenaline, because that's an argument, there's no biochemical track of adrenaline in that muscle. Yeah. But now that we're on a quantic age, on a quantic era, there's a vibration of adrenaline. The molecule of adrenaline has a specific type of vibration that is within the body of the animal, within the meat, within the blood. So when you eat that, your vibration of your own body mixes with the vibration of that what you're eating, and that is fear, that is anger, and that's what you're eating 3 or 4 times a day. When you don't eat that, your vibration changes completely. You're more peace and love. Remember when we were growing up, peace and love? You're more peace and love. You're more gentle, you're more calm, you're more relaxed. And that's just something to start with. I mean, I'm not being fanatic. I've been vegetarian for 45 years. My kids are vegetarian from birth. And I could tell the change, the swift, when I was an adolescent and then left meat eating, how my mind changed. And then started practicing psychophysical exercises, taekwondo at the beginning, then yoga, then started meditation, which was very hard for me because my mind is too fast or quick. But then I started calming my mind and everything. And that's the first step, the first step. When you change your eating habits, you feel much better, definitely. Second, you start not hyper-reacting. And you can manage your own emotions. Okay, that doesn't mean it's magical. No, that means that you're going to be more knowledgeable, more conscious about your reactions, your emotional reactions, and you can start by being conscious, working on them. If you need a therapy, if you need therapy or a therapist, okay. If you can do it on your own, okay. The thing, going back to what we're talking, is that this is what we expect on a future. The couple, both can work their differences, because we are images of a mirror with the other. And because we live together, we share together, we have the same toothbrush and the same glass in your bathroom, etc. So you can start working. And since there's love, or is based on love, that is easier to work on that relationship, on your shadows, on things. That's the ideal thing. But besides before we reach that point, maybe we'll need some therapy. And we have to do it. But first, we have to feed our body with food that doesn't make us hyper-react. And that is, by definition, vegetarianism or veganism, whatever you want to call it, or you practice. That's the first step. Then meditation is crucial because you see yourself in that state of zero vibration of the mind. you start taking notice of who you are, taking conscious that you're not your feelings, you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, there's something else. You've touched your being, you've touched your essence. And from the essence, because essence is God, essence is the perfect balance, you project to reality, to your world, to your life. It makes such a difference. So this is something that I share with you. It's my experience. Okay. Somebody else can have another experience. I will be delighted to hear, because I'm always looking to have a little bit of more knowledge and making myself a better human being. Thank you. Thank you for that. Sorry for the internet. Okay.
No problem, Oscar. We totally understand.
Yeah.
I've actually been to your country, El Salvador, like 10 or 12 times. So I get it. And thank you again.
Could I just add something, Oscar, to what you were
saying? Yes, please.
Thank you so much for being here. You've really raised the level of this conversation and brought a whole beautiful aspect carrying on from what we were hoping. We are starting here, not hoping to. So that's really beautiful. And I love that this is becoming global, international, different cultures and as well, and different age groups. So that's beautiful. One of the things that was coming to me, and then you touched on this, is education, which is so important, because those of us who are awakened, who've done the self-work, and can understand when we say about getting in touch with our inner selves or our divine feminine. But if you don't know, you can't necessarily find the way to get to that. And so I think it's really important for us to teach this, or to talk about how do we teach this. And Dharmendra has something that he runs on Thursday afternoons, vegan synergy meditation, where he uses the gene keys. And there's Dharmendra, so he can talk about it, which is a really beautiful tool where he takes us on a guided meditation through our shadows, to our gifts, to our siddhas. And there are other ways of doing this as well. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation. So myself, as a visual artist, I work a lot with children and youth. I do this through creativity. So I'm bringing the children into an understanding of, so for example, we looked at Haida art and culture, which I have permission to do because of my being adopted into the Haida tribe and having worked on the canoes for many years with a Haida master canoe carver. So bringing them into an understanding of history, what has happened, how we rebalance, how they connect with nature. They're taking care of Mother Earth, and then the art and as a vehicle for telling stories. I'm educating them and bringing them into an understanding, a full understanding of something. And then how to use materials. So we talk about upcycling. We talk about not wasting things. We talk about honoring the materials, using beautiful materials, and that art is not shit. Art is important, excuse my French, but, because normally we have this understanding that what kids make, we throw out, right? Well, it's not that. Our creativity is valuable. And so I really work on that healing self by honoring self and our creativity. And that's my toolkit. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation, this thing of how can we individually and as a group help others to arrive at this understanding and to embody what we're talking about.
All right, Myra.
I think Oscar wanted to.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Oscar. And yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Can I invite other people to this group? Because I when you say that, 10 people came to my mind that are looking, that are in the search of, here in El Salvador, they're bilingual. They were classmates of me in Escuela Americana, and I know they were fascinated joining that group. If I'm allowed to do that, to invite them.
So this is really new. Myra, Jackie, and myself started this with Jamin's blessing, and we really want to grow the conversation and build the community, which is Jamin's dream, really, with this platform. So we would be honored if you would do that and really encourage that. So if you could liaise with Jackie on that, because what we're trying to do is put a schedule together so that we can invite people on a regular basis. And in fact, because we have a 2-hour section, we could have multiple speakers, you know, one in the first hour, another in the second hour, and then they can bring their friends to join as well and their family members. The more people, we should fill up this screen. We should have 300 viewers on this screen right now.
Okay.
So please do. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. And let me assure you, they're very nice people, very educated people, gentle people that are looking for this, and they'll just be delighted to join the group. And we could even make a Salvadoran chapter of this group, you know, whatever. Please. And I know for sure I'm going to invite them today. And you, Jackie, let me know the schedule of the reunions, and we'll have at least 4 people or more to join the group, because this is so necessary, so interesting, especially in these moments that we're living. But here in El Salvador, it's a full quarantine. I mean, this is like being locked up. You're not allowed to go out, and people are going crazy. I mean, they call me, Dr. Molina, what can I do? Take this, or I'm going to needle you, come here. I cannot, I'll go to your place. People are going crazy. So this is so necessary.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes.
And we're having this similar experience here. A lot of us are using online. So I'm actually running online art classes for children right now, which
Great.
is really healing and beautiful. We can bring in children into my art classes from El Salvador if you want. We should all be co-creating this together. So yes, please.
Thank you so much. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Yes.
And a few people have their hands up, so I'll call on you in a second. I just wanted to comment that, first of all, absolutely yes, invite whoever you want to bring. And in terms of starting a Salvadoran chapter, absolutely. If you want to do that, I will bring the pupusas and the cola. And in fact,
Great.
And in fact, with Mayra's good leadership, we have had some Spanish language segments.
Great.
Yeah, I think maybe we build this up a bit more, and then once we have enough Spanish speakers, maybe we then shift over and start a pure Spanish language one. That sounds wonderful.
Great.
All right, Mayra has had her hand up for quite a while, followed by Jackie, followed by Miles. Go for it, Mayra.
Yes, and you know what? You just opened up my appetite with the whole pupusas thing. I love pupusas. Those pupusas with loroco and mushrooms, and then the plátano macho. Oh my God! I think I'm gonna order some right now. Anyways, I do have 2 questions for you, Oscar. I don't know if I just make one question and then wait for the second round, because I don't know how much time left we have. But the first question is, within the Divine Feminine, when we are still dealing with that toxic male side, and I like to use the word narcissistic more than anything. And I know that, yes, it's a blessing that life put those people in our lives, because they pushed us to help us to become better. Now, when, let's say, you know, okay, I'm going to put it straight out. Like I have my son, he's 7 years old. And then, well, his dad, he's like that. But you know what? I know it's not his fault. I know that his mother created this monster. But that's their life. It should not even matter to me who did what. It's his life. However, within all these years of myself just doing a lot of spiritual work and reading and eating healthy and becoming a person that in reality has found her purpose of loving and serving from the inside out, loving and serving without forgetting about myself. However, when he tries to attack me, I'm a human being. I mean, I get hurt, especially when it involves my son. I take a deep breath and I allow myself to cry. I allow myself to get mad, but I only allow it now for seconds. Before I used to allow it for months, and it was when I was a little bit more unconscious. And I realized that I was only hurting myself. So now I only let it, and then I let it flow, and then I come to my center and I get peaceful. But when this person continues and continues and continues, and I'm gonna send you to court again, and I'm gonna do this, I feel like life is telling me to do something bigger. Like, it's not about me. It's about a lot of women that are dealing with this. Even a lot of men that are dealing with this also. And I honestly feel like life itself pushes you to not only fight for your son, so he cannot be raised by those type of characters, but to also bring out the best that you can and bring out your experience. So a lot of women can wake up and get out of those toxic relationships, or do the same thing, like file something to the main courts and say, you know what, I'm just tired. Women commit suicide because of this pressure. A lot of people commit very bad decisions because of this pressure on top of them. Like I've been there. I have touched hell dealing with those type of people. The question is, Oscar, because you're saying, well, we have to put attention in the way we eat. We have to put attention. Yes. Now, what if we already reach all that, but we're still fighting against, like we're still going against the river? And this quarantine has had to help me a lot to realize that my son, he's been affected by that type of character. We saw it the other day when we were here in a 24-hour block party, where all of a sudden he said something that blew my mind away. And I was like, you know what? My son has that imbalance, but his dad influences a lot in his life. He lets them play violent games. He encourages them to eat meat. He puts in his head that it's all about sport. And I am more of the, baby, come on, let's go practice Tai Chi. Let's go eat healthy. And let's read and let's do artwork. But I honestly feel, I don't know if you can give me like a suggestion within the Divine Feminine. Do I just ignore it and just keep myself getting centered, or do I just step out like a lion and defend not every woman, because not every woman is willing to take that step, but at least become an activist that really the government needs to step up. We need to fix this problem from where it started. Because what is it?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you can just give me like a suggestion, like what do I do in this case?
Okay. Well, I'm not a psychologist. Okay, hold on. I'm not a psychologist, but I've lived, and I deal with people. I deal with patients every time, all the time. Mayra, you have to become your own therapist for yourself. And the best way to help others is with your example. Okay. There is the legal part, which I'm not going to get into it because you know that legal part, lawyer, court, etc. That is something that you have to decide up to where you want to go and how. That is a legal part. There is a legal thing, but that's aside. But what concerns about the being, you have to first remember or be conscious that your son is an individual, and that soul, when he was coming to Earth, to this planet, he decided who his parents were going to be. You didn't decide, he decided. So you have to take care of him because you're the mother, you're the first guru, you're the first master that he has, and he's young, he's a young soul. You'll have to see what's best for him, to protect him. to nurture him. But you have to first be like in the martial arts. Martial artists, when there's a force going against them, they don't oppose the same force. They become transparent. So the energy, the chi, goes through them. That's the basic of judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido, every martial arts. So if you let that force go through you without harming you, without unbalancing you, that same force, since the universe is curved, Einstein proved it, it's going to come back from its origin, to his origin. That's to your ex-husband or whoever. So first you have to become transparent, not oppose the same force, because it harms you, it makes you sad, makes you angry, or whatever. Once you gain that from your center, you're going to find the answer. Because that answer is not going to come from your intellect, or from the guts, not from the heart. It's going to come from your center. And the center is right. Center is true. It's light. But if you're influenced by angriness, hate, bitterness, resentment, you're not flowing from your center. You're opposing the same force to what he's giving to you. And your son is going to feel that balance within you. He is not going to need for you to tell him this or that. From his center, because you're going to be connected by your center to his center, he'll say, I don't want this, or I want this. If he, from his center, says, I want this, let go. That's what he needs for his growth. He needs it. That's his destiny. He has to live that experience, either if you want it or you like it or not. It's his experience, not yours. But then you have to flow, understand, process from your center. It's hard. It's easy to say it. It's hard to make it. But since you're on the path, you're eating right, you're doing yoga, meditate and try to touch that center of yours. When you touch it, you're going to feel much better, no matter if there's a storm, if there's lightning, if there's hate around you, if there's violence, if there's injustice, because you're going to be in your center and you'll see that there's no injustice. Everything is perfect. We see it's imperfect or not correct because we are not seeing it from the center. That's what meditation is. Remember, Zen, Japanese Zen meditation, Zen art. Zen with the Z, it's center. Anything in Japanese say, this is Zen. That means this is centered. Find your center. And everything is gonna be put in place by the law. Yes, I'm done.
Yeah, that's so beautifully put. That's such good medicine. And I just want to share a quick story that's a really good example of what you're saying, Oscar, for you, Mayra. Years ago, my Haida partner, when he was building the canoes, he was using power tools. And every day, a person would come by on their bike, a younger man, and he would say, what, you're not finished yet? Like really critical. And the carver would raise his power tool and go and threaten to chop him up with his power saw. You know, it was really aggressive. And I used to say to him, you know, the moment you stop doing that and you just send that person love, he will disappear. And he couldn't, of course, he had anger in himself. So every time the guy would come by, he'd raise his axe or his power saw and disappear. And I would always say the same thing. Finally, one day, when the guy came by and said, what, you're not finished yet? He did not raise his axe or any of his tools. He just started to explain the process. And that was the last time we ever saw that person again. He left.
Yes, I agree completely. That's it. Mayra, I hope both answers have helped you or given you an idea of what to do. It's my
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I did have a second question, but I'll give opportunity to other people here to ask.
All right, yeah, Jackie was next, followed by Miles. And Oscar, I just wanted to let you know, it looks like we're getting some music from your end.
Oh, sorry. It's in the background, David Benoit playing a little bit of jazz in the background, because I have some patients. Needles, they're laying down for a while. I'll just go after a little, after to take the needles off. Yes, yes. Does it bother you? Because I can take it off if it bothers you.
Yeah,
I can take it off.
It's a little bit disturbing. And
okay, I'll lower the volume now.
Okay.
Or just mute.
Yeah. Good point, Miles.
I don't want to take anyone's time. I know there's people in the queue, but I would just like to say to Myra that
Here we are.
it is her son's individual journey, but as a child of polar opposite upbringing, you're actually giving him a platform very young to learn lessons, wise lessons very young, and whatever decisions he makes. But he's actually in a very lucky position, whether he realizes that now or not, and to have faith in that, because there's no sense in learning from the one side, and the fact that he has both sides, he's actually in the perfect position he needs to be in. So just give a little faith to that as well.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Beautiful. All righty. Jackie's been waiting for a while, followed by Miles. Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, we only have a few minutes, so I don't know. I'll ask the question if you have time, or we could just bring it up another time. But we touched on the Piscean and the transition to the Aquarian, and it's so much about what we're talking about, this transition, that I just wanted to know if we had a few minutes that you could explain basically how we're ushering in the Aquarian, the difference, and what we're leaving behind, and how it plays into the conversation.
Okay. Shortly, briefly. Right now, we are moving. Not like we're moving like this. If we stay still, we are moving. Why? Because our planet is moving. It's rotating, and we don't perceive it, but it's moving. It's doing a spin around its axis. We're moving. And it's translating around the solar system. And the solar system is moving around the galaxy, and the galaxy around another huge star galaxy, and everything is moving. Okay. Astrologically, every 30 days, the sun hits a space of 30 days, 30, 20, 22 something days, that is called a sign. The Aries sign, Cancer sign, Aquarius sign, Capricorn sign, from depending the date of the month of the year. So if you put that movement on a higher scale, on a big scale, every 2,000 and something years, the sun moves. Actually, it's the Earth, but to make it clear, it's the sun. The sun points to a different sign. And let's think that these signs, these spaces on the sky, have colors, like a blue color, a red color, a purple color, yellow color. And when the sun, the light, the photons, hits that sign that is yellow, for example, we're going to have the tendency of looking everything on a yellowish color. If it hits the red of another sign, we're going to have the sensation that everything is red. Okay. The ancients, this is ancient, discovered by observation that when certain things happen, there are some situations on Earth, on reality, on societies that have a specific trend, a specific quality. This being short, this past 2,000 years came a person that changed the whole world, Jesus, Master Jesus, Jesus Christ, that looked for fishermen. that multiply bread and fishes. His symbol, when they recognized ancient Christians, when they recognized themselves in the Roman Empire, when they were being persecuted, they recognized themselves with the fish. The Pope's hat, it's called a mitra in Spanish, mitra, I don't know in English, the name of the hat of the Pope, is the face of a fish. And the tendency in these past 2,000 years has been faith, I believe. I remember when I was a kid, Mother, why this and this and that? It's, you have to believe it. No, but explain to me, it's a matter of faith. You have to believe it, especially I was growing Catholic, imagine. And my mother was very Catholic. So, and also there was a big cult to the female image of Mary, the Virgin Mary. Okay. The sun, astrologically, was pointing to the sign of Pisces. And Earth, which is opposite on the solar system, the zodiac, here is Pisces, and in the other side, 180 degrees, is Virgo. Virgo the Virgin. So the Earth was in Virgo, and the sun was in Pisces. So you mix up those things, symbolically speaking, very Jungian, and you see what was going on. And the sign, the symbol that symbolizes Pisces is one wave this side, and the other wave the other side, and two fishes, one this way and the other way. Science and religion were opposite. Remember Galileo, when he was taken to be hanged? Because he said, no, the earth moves, and said it doesn't move. Remember Columbus when he says, the earth is not flat, it's rounded? He said, you're crazy. Science and religion were opposite. Women and men were opposite. And we were on an era of faith, of no knowledge. Since 1948, more or less after Second World War, the sun has been hitting Aquarius. Aquarius, the word that characterizes him is knowledge. Pisces, the word that characterizes him is belief. Virgo, the word that characterizes is I analyze. So right now it's been shifting since 1945, 48 more or less. The sun is hitting this blue color, and everything's starting to become more blue. All of a sudden, there was a generation that said, no more war. Let's make love, not war. They left their hair long. They started talking about spirituality, about the dorsal perception. I mean, another concept of seeing life, spirituality, vegetarianism, psychedelic music, because Aquarius, its sign, its planet that symbolizes him is Uranus. And Uranus is the constant changes. Saturn and Neptune are now in, Saturn are in the sign of Uranus, in the with Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are in Aquarius right now. So everything is changing dramatically. Everything's upside down. Our whole life has changed. And we entered this 21st of March, the second degree of Aquarius. The first degree was 72 years ago, 1948. Now we are in the second degree of Aquarius. Pisces is going away. There you are. Yeah, there you are. So Pisces is leaving. It's gone. And Aquarius entered. That's where all this changes, this revolution, this nonsense that's going on, and many people don't understand it. And all of a sudden, we're talking by communication, digital communications. We're communicating on a different level because Aquarius has to be with communications. Computers, communicator systems, iPhones, iPads, etc. Women going because the two waves, the symbol of Aquarius is two waves on the same direction. Science and religion, men and women. So it's a whole new era. We can talk a lot about it, but this is what's happening. We're on a shift of an era. exactly what happened 2,000 years ago. Imagine the Jewish people with their ancient culture, the ancient cults, the Old Testament with the new evangelical of Christ, the Romans going crazy, the fall of the empire, etc., etc. What happens up there happens down here. We have to understand it. That's why. That's all these things, new age stuff, new era, are booming. Millennials, centennials, they are Aquarius. More or less, that's the astrological explanation. That's why we're doing these things. Okay? Thank you. If you just give me 5 minutes, 2 minutes, I have to take needles and I come back, please. Please continue. Just take up needles, take my patients to their home, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you so much. So I think, Miles, you are up next. And I just wanted to add before you come on, Miles, that I was reading about what's going on right now with the Pluto transit. Pluto makes big things little and little things big. Well, the virus is little and it's very big. I just thought that's really, yeah, it's right on time. Miles, you are on. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. So I'll be quick. First of all, you guys were talking about some food that sounded so delicious, but I'm up here in Canada and I don't know what you're talking about. So if you can put the names of those foods into the chat, I'll try to make some. Now, also related to Canada, I put 2 documentaries about the power of the feminine. And the first is The Burning Times by the National Film Board of Canada. And I'm saying this so that anyone listening to the recording might look them up. And that's a Holocaust against women that occurred in Europe. I was shocked when I watched that. And it's, something that was never taught to me. The second film, Goddess Remembered. Now, the third link is to another National Film Board of Canada documentary, more recent, called A Better Man. And insofar as action, this is a film producer, a young woman, a woman now who very much opens up her experience of abuse and confronts her abuser. And I honestly wonder if you ladies would reach out to this film producer, if she might not join us to talk about her documentary. And I showed it to both my teenage daughter and my teenage son because I felt it was such an important message. So I invite everybody to look at those, and maybe the producer, she might join us in one of these sessions. Thank you.
Yeah, nice suggestion, Miles. We can look into that for sure. Thank you so much. Myra, you are next.
I think Jackie.
Was it Jackie?
Yeah,
okay.
And then Myra. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Thank God the moderator's here, right?
No, I'm fine. I asked my question. It can go to Myra.
Oh, okay, and I guess we can go over time because I don't think Silas is not up next.
Yeah, we can definitely go as long as we want, really. So
just another quick interjection. The Better Man documentary, there's also a website, and there are resources for leading seminars on the subject of abuse.
Beautiful. All righty. Maida, go for it.
I'm gonna wait for Dr. Molina because I wanted to ask him a question about this whole quarantine in El Salvador. And just a little quick question. There's a lot of people doing manifesting in the outside of the capitals with big cardboard saying, open up the states, we need to get back to work. And there was one that got my attention a lot because he said, no matter what, we are going to have to become immunized to this virus. So might as well just expose ourselves to it just open up the state. We need to get back to work. And I was thinking to myself, like, how can you put money before your health? I wanted to ask Dr. Molina, because when we first started talking, he told me something very interesting about how they started quarantining in El Salvador. And I think that's a lot of consciousness for a whole state to become together and do everything that they're doing over there. And just ask him a little bit about what he thinks of what's happening in the United States now, where they're proposing to open up in the 1st of May, which I think that's insane.
I also want to add that with Dr. Molina, with Oscar, Myra and I are created a new forum that we'll be meeting twice a week to re-educate humanity in this way, in the divine feminine, and for him to bring this knowledge and share. And then we're going to end, it'll be brief, maybe 30 minutes, but it'll end with a collective guided meditation so we can continue to foster that, the effect that we had on the geomagnetic field of the earth when we did that global meditation on April 4th. And also after 9/11, the evening after 9/11, there was, and this wasn't coordinated, but there was a mass global prayer and meditation because of what happened. And there was also that the geomagnetic field had reached its highest point, just like on April 4th. So it's our intention to continue to foster and contribute to that twice a week. We believe now it'll be Wednesdays and Saturdays where we'll meet briefly, 15, 20 minutes for a brief conversation like we're having, and then a unified collective meditation to continue to affect the geomagnetic field of the earth and continue to spread our healing through the divine feminine this way.
Beautiful. Yeah. I just also wanted to say something that's coming to me about synchronicity, which Oscar talked upon. And I think that as we work on healing ourselves and coming back into our own centers and empowering ourselves, aligning with our, I'm going to say purpose, but that's not necessarily going out and getting, or making money, but it's just sort of on this higher level of being in alignment with essence and our beingness, our beings, our soul, that these synchronistic events start happening. And if we come into the center of being on purpose to be and do what we came here to be and do at this time, to be part of this transformation and shift, then these things start happening. These things align. And then it's almost like we're aided, what did they say? When an idea's time has come, it will
meet with success.
It will meet with success unknown in common hours. And I really love this. So I just wanted to mention that, we are being helped by the universe as well, through the healing and empowering of our individual selves. Does anyone else want to say anything? Jackie, you want to add any more? So just a little aside, I spoke with my poet friend and colleague Myrna Hecht, and she's so excited about also joining us and talking about poetry and using poetry as a vehicle for bringing healing. She works a lot with refugees and immigrant families and youth. So I'm going to do some test runs with her first to get her comfortable using Zoom. And then she would love to join us in the conversation. So I'm really excited about this new leg of the journey we're all taking together. So Jamin, over to you.
Sure. Well, I know we're waiting for Oscar to return, and I'm just like taking it all in and really loving this series on the divine feminine that we have. And what it occurs to me is that there is such an opportunity for men and women not just men and women, but youth and elders, all of us of both sexes, to come together and just really get to know each other in this healthy new modality and space that we're all creating here together. I'm gonna mute Oscar. Back. He doesn't realize that he was unmuted.
I want to say, really, like, this is so beautiful. It really, really is. The space has grown even more, to me, more sacred space. And we do talk about delicate things. It's not like we're just like, fluffy and holding hands and butterflies. And, this is about really finding that safety and that connection where we can just be that vulnerable selves and really just exchange in truth and exchange in support and exchange in love. It's so important. And if I may announce who will be visiting with us next week and the week after, we already have booked, if that's okay. So Dr. Will Tuttle will be with us next week, the author of The World Peace Diet, my mentor, and one of my favorite people. So excited that he's agreed to come and be and share. And what I love about learning with him was about how he really does see the core of the oppression of the divine feminine in Sophia. And for him to come and discuss this is beautiful. And about social injustices also. And then the week after, this morning, Melissa, I haven't had a chance to tell you that I have secured Renee King-Sonnen for the week after. And she is Roddy Girl, and she is a former cattle rancher's wife who has now transitioned, become vegan, and now helps other former cattle ranchers transition to be sanctuaries. And that whole experience was as the Fina, as the divine feminine, and her experience of the animal agriculture and the farm, and how it just transformed her life. So we've invited her to come and share that story with us also.
Fantastic, Jackie. You've been working hard. I'm really proud of you. Thank you for doing this great work. Thank you, Myra, as well. Thank you, everyone. And Oscar's back, so we'll hand the mic over to you. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Okay. Well, sorry for that, but patience. Okay. I think we're on time. I don't know if that's it. If not, anything else that I might be of any help? I've been so honored. I had such a great time talking with you guys, seeing you on the screen. Thank you very much for making this possible, Mayra and Jackie, and meeting you all. It's been a pleasure. You made my day, really, honestly. And I hope to see you soon. And as I say, I'll be inviting people, English-speaking people, so they can join us. They'll be delighted as well as I am. Thank you very much indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you so much.
And just so you know, this is a forum that's open literally to everyone. Okay. Everyone on earth is welcome here, except for those people who treat other people badly, and then we filter them out, and that's part of my job.
Of course.
And this what we're on right now, we are a little more than 5 hours into a 24-hour block party. So this will go for another 19 hours. We'll be going for 19 more hours. So feel free to just come in and out when you're
okay. Thank you.
You want to come back in, just come back in, because all of these topics are on the same general theme of how do we save life on Earth, transform life on Earth, heal our planet, cool our planet, protect and heal all of our brother and sister species and ecosystems, and how do we transform ourselves? How do we transform humanity so that we can be the best species we can be?
And the segments are recorded, so you can share this segment with your friends.
Yeah.
Give them an idea.
All the recordings are up on radish.org. And, you know, within maximum 2 days, we'll have these recordings uploaded as well. you know, we've gone a little bit over, but that's no problem. I mean, we have flexibility here. So.
And also, I think Ira had a question for you. She's been waiting for a little while.
Okay.
So honor that if you have time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Ira.
Thank you. Yes, I had a question. It was about the quarantine, but I'd rather ask you another question.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to give it more strength to this situation.
Okay.
Just rather be peaceful and happy. I do wanted to ask you, Oscar, who do you think gave the fungus to the God that made us?
Say it again. Who gave the basic material?
I'm gonna say it to you in Spanish.
Okay.
¿Quién le dio los hongos al Dios que nos hizo?
Jesus. Who gave the fungus to the God that created us? If I was from the Sierra, the Mexican Sierra over there down south, I would say Maria Sabina. Remember Maria Sabina? The lady that clapped and gave the honguitos, or Don Juan, the teachings of Don Juan. But in that sense, let me explain the idea that Maestro Estrada, the founder of the ETB, told us once. He gave us a magnificent speech about God, about the universe, the laws of the universe, ubiquity, being two places at the same time. He talked about the time where there's going to be no money, which is credit cards. We're talking about 40 years ago. He talked about gravity, about quantum physics, many topics. And at the end, he said something like this. Let me see if I can explain it. He said something, you know what? He said, right now, it's Sunday, God must be very happy. And I said, well, of course, because he gave a speech. There was about 200 people in the auditorium. I said, well, yeah, God is happy. You know why I said this? I was just thinking about it. You know why? Because it's Sunday, and he must be walking with his goddess to the park, and they're going to eat ice cream. I said, what? And then he explained to us that when we say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, that immensely huge, immensely infinite huge being, what we call God, is saying also, our Father who art in heaven, to his God. And that goes infinitely to the huge scale as infinitely to the microscopic scale. So that means in that law of the groups of groups, something like that, conjunto de conjuntos, that our cells see us, a huge black space with little lights. Probably they don't call them stars, they call them quantum photons or whatever, but they see us as their God. The little cells in the liver and the skin and the pyramidal cells in the brain. As we see the cosmic spaces and level and distance which are unimaginable, and we call it God. But at the same time, that our God sees all the little stars, the little lights, and he calls himself his God. And he goes all the way up and all the way down. So, there has been times where civilizations have tried to explain their cosmogony and their theogony, and they talk about clay. God created man to his image with clay, Mayans talk about maize, about corn, 4 types of corn, and then the yellow corn that we know is the one that stay. Chinese talk about the turtle, the dragon, etc., in their mythological concept of creation. In our Western civilization, our Christian creation belief is that God gave birth or created Adam and Eve, and in the Garden of Eden, etc. So depending on the moment and time of the beginning of civilizations, their concept is put on a symbolism or an explanation that there's a matter that created everything, and that the creator did something. He blew the breath, or he gave light, or he created the mantra, the Om, the vibration, to that matter of that he had created becomes a form. Now, if you look at a Darwin way of seeing things, of evolution, and up to what we know of the Big Bang and everything that has been created, the basic element, the substance, the basic substance that everything is created, is a form of primary energy. No matter why, or that's how Einstein made his formula, E equals mc squared. The energy is the same as matter times the speed of light squared, which is immense speed, but energy is the same thing as matter. Einstein tries to say, matter is a condensed form of energy. Energy is a condensed form of mind, of mental energy. Mental energy is a condensed form of spiritual energy. And spiritual energy is a condensed form of the absolute. So, matter and the absolute are the same thing. And everything is the same thing. It's only it's a matter of wavelength, of vibration. So, if you talk about the fungus, symbolically speaking, it was a form of energy, spiritual energy, absolute energy, that split and created everything that we know. This is a very Aquarian way of explaining it. But if we were in the Piscean area, over there in the Petén, in the Mayan area, over there in the jungle, they gave other explanations. The Hindus gave another explanation according to their environment, the rivers, the Egyptians, because of the Nile, talked about God as being the huge round disc, the solar disc that navigated on the Nile, and it went away. It was Ra. That's what they call the boat of Ra. And the Greeks, the Chinese, everything depending on what they see, they give that explanation. But if you put it on a scientific point of view or anthroposophical point of view, the basic stuff is its own energy, which he decided to lower down that energy or slower down that energy, and that created spirit, then mind, then energy, emotions and stuff, and then matter. This is energy. It's condensed. You see it on a molecular level, it's pure energy. Only that molecules are so densely and so tight, it makes matter. But if you split it, and I don't know if you saw Star Wars, remember the first Star Wars, or the saga of Star Wars? When they go to hyperspace, remember? Han Solo speeds his starship, and they go to hyperspace. He accelerated to the square of light, to the light square, and he went to another space, another dimension. And when he lowers the speed, he comes back to this dimension. The same thing. That's what I think. I don't know if this helps you a little bit or makes you more difficult to understand, but that's how I understand it. The fungus.
It was perfectly said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence and your essence.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad and I'm honored, very happy to have spoken to you.
We are going to kidnap you and we are going to have you 2 days a week, 2 times a day, and then Fridays also.
Okay. Since we're on this quarantine thing, Fridays for me, it's just fine. We'll have to just shift when I have started having patients on a normal scale, but we can arrange. No problem. Sure.
I too want to say thank you so much. It has been such a privilege to share this time, to have these conversations with you, and just to share you. I mean, I've had the pleasure of having conversations with you before, but the idea of inviting you to the space with all my friends and family to share, it's just such an honor. Thank you so much.
No. Thank you guys. Thank you all guys. Thank you for having me with you and being patient, with my English. So a little lousy. Thank you very much.
Your English is perfect.
Your English is great.
I try to manage. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, feel free.
Okay. Yes, I'll be leaving you for a while because I still have patients over here at the clinic. I have to arrange certain stuff. And since you're going to be here, talking and discussing topics, I'll join a little bit later. I have to do some stuff in the afternoon. And I'm going to invite my friends if it's okay with you. So they can join. See if they have time and they can join you guys. Okay? Thank you very much. See you later. Thank you, David. No, thank you guys. Okay?
I'll see you next
time. Have a nice time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Okay.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie and Myra, for bringing this amazing person into the conversation. Just great. Looking so forward to meeting everyone else we're going to be bringing to the platform. And love you guys so much, and you girls so much. And I'm going to go to my studio, so I will see you later.
Yeah, I'm going to run out and feed the cats because they're on the cats.
Yeah. All right.
Later.
Thank you. See you guys later. Love you all. I'm going to leave too. I need to go make breakfast. My kids are over here already telling me they're hungry. And we're going to jump into that circular woman also. I don't know. Yeah, with Della at 12. Yeah. Yes. And then, oh my God, I have a very busy weekend with my intense course. So I don't know. I think I'm going to break myself right now in pieces.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Jackie and Mayra, thank you both so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jim, and see you later. Maybe at nighttime. Hopefully I don't go to sleep like always. Bye.
Very good. All righty. Well, I'm just going to do a quick reset of the video. This will just take one moment.